What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony and Lori, and we are discussing the return of A Discovery of Witches. Yay! Finally, that year went by slow because
Best show on TV that is fantasy related.
It took so long to get back, but it came back. I think it came back strong, but I have some things to say. But before we get into the discussion, I just need to go ahead, and Anthony already knows. So those of you who are just listening, you can't see it, but I just have to go ahead and make sure that we acknowledge Georgia
Go
as
Dogs.
the winners. Yes.
Go Dogs. Class 97. Woof, woof, woof.
Woo, yay. Georgia finally won a championship after 41 years.
41 long years.
Yep. So between the Braves and the Bulldogs, we're having a great sports season in Georgia. We're not going to talk about, other
Congratulations. My husband is from Valdosta, Georgia, and I have several Georgia things in my house, but most prominent is Uga, their mascot that is sitting on top of my TV stand. Well, I'm from Illinois. It's very prominent in my living room, and I swear every time he walks by, he actually pets it. He swear to God.
I wouldn't doubt it. Anthony is decked out. Anthony has on a hoodie. He has on a Georgia t-shirt up under it. He has on Georgia shorts. Do you have on Georgia socks too?
I have on Georgia socks.
He has on Georgia socks. And you don't have the shoes on only because you don't wear shoes in the house.
That's correct.
Those shoes are clean. I'm telling you, everybody knows me. I like kicks. Those shoes are fire.
Yep. So just have to go ahead and get that out the way. So now we can properly talk about A Discovery of Witches, season 3, episode 1. And I have some things to say. I will start this off by saying I have two major, I won't call them gripes, but those are the things that kind of bothered me about the episode. And then the rest of it was cool. First, how dare you guys? How dare you give us that tiny sliver of hope at the beginning of the episode that Emily was going to make it? Y'all were dead ass wrong for that. She was laying in that bed and I thought she was already gone. And then Matthew and Diana walk in and Sarah is looking at them like, where the hell did y'all come from? I'm looking at them like, where the hell did y'all come from? Because I don't remember them actually leaving at the end of the last season. I did a rewatch last week of all of season 1. I didn't get through all of season 2 yet. But I'm sitting there like, okay, so I guess we're starting out that way. They walk in, and of course, Em is on the bed, and Em opens her eyes. She sees she sees Diana. She smiles, and then she's gone. I was like, oh, y'all fucking with us from the very first minute?
Well, Hanako, they actually did us a favor. I'll tell you why. In the third book, when they come back, Emily has been dead for 6 months. And what happens is the very first chapter, her ghost is watching them. So she dies off camera in the book. For them to do it this way, this was fan service to have Emily back one more time. Because by the time they get here, Fernando is already there and he and Sarah are becoming friends, and Emily's been dead for 6 months, and Sarah is just aimless and she doesn't know what to do with herself. So that was fan service right there.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I don't really understand having to grieve twice. I mean, she was dead
because we thought she was dead at the end of last season.
Dead again. So I don't agree. I understand what you're saying, Lori, but I don't agree with that choice. I think that was I think they did that it seems like they did it simply for the two of them when they came back.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you because honestly, I prefer the book because I'm not going to go in. I finished the last book, guys, like 2 weeks before the new season. But the way it is with Emily's ghost is that she's watching them and she's at peace because she knows that her niece is back. And they did this, and I'm like, okay, because they basically rushed through a good third of the book in this episode, which had me so excited. But the way that they brought Emily in, I was like, I don't want to see this, because Sarah and them are just going to be heartbroken. And when she opened her eyes and she smiled, and then she goes, she's gone, I was like, I had to stop it, and I had to like go in the kitchen for a second, because it hit me, it just hit me.
Yeah, it hit me the second time I watched it. I watched it once by myself, of course, and then my daughter wanted to watch it, so we rewatched it last night. The first time I was just watching it, and I was just like, no, y'all didn't. I think I was in shock. I was like, no, y'all didn't. And then last night, when I had time to like really sit there, I was just like, it's coming. It's coming. I'm good. I've seen this already. And I still cried. So I was like, you guys are wrong for that. But that also made me feel like that's not the last that we're going to see of Emily. I feel like, and I'm glad you mentioned her ghost, Lori, because I feel like we're probably going to see her ghost in this season. I mean, they already played around with that last season with Rebecca's ghost. And I don't think Sarah is the one who's going to attempt higher magic to connect with M. I think Diana may. And I think at this point, I think Diana may be strong enough to do it. So
I would agree with that, because like I said, based on this first episode, they've obviously changed a few things, and if they have her do that, I think that would be cool as like a final goodbye. But that funeral, it was, and Matthew's mom, Jezebel, I respected what she said.
Yeah,
given my history, and I think that because I was watching it, I'm going, well, where is she? And I was like, no, that was actually appropriate. But man, I'm not good at funerals anyway, but that just tore me apart.
Yeah, it was it was a beautiful funeral, very sad, very poetic in a way. But yeah, Isabel just, you think about Isabel's journey in the story, just what we know, at one point she was a witch killer, and then I'm starting to, thinking about what we learned of Philippe in the last season. Like, we know that at some point they were not as tolerant about other creatures. And I want to think that maybe that changed a little bit because of whatever happened in the past once Matthew and Diana got there. But then, of course, witches were involved in Philippe's torture, and eventually, I mean, it contributed to his death. So then Isabeau goes on her rampage again. But I just kind of seeing her journey, the way that we've seen her the last two, last season, especially because of having to shelter Emily and Sarah, I feel like she has a little bit more respect for them, as as far as the witches, and especially with Diana. And I just felt like that gesture that she made, it was very very sweet, very respectful. And it was that funeral was just so gut-wrenching.
Well, what's gut-wrenching is the credits, because it of course changed. And the credits are so beautiful. I mean, we talked about this before, but just watching the credits is, sometimes that's like the best part of the show, because of the way because they really do incorporate what happens in that season in the credits. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, and I'm sad because this is the last season.
Right. And I saw some rumors online yesterday that Gallowglass may actually be getting his own show. I'm not sure how true those rumors are. I don't know. That's what I read. But it is the internet. It is the internet, but hold on.
I just want to know how.
Since you brought up Gallowglass, I just want to say I am so excited to see him appear. Like, he's a game changer for me for this show.
I love Gallowglass.
Gallowglass is
I
my
love
favorite.
Stephen Cree in general, but
right, I hope and I pray that he has a significant role, you know, in this series.
I think Gallowglass is going to stir some stuff up, and that's just like the little bit of leakage that I know of. But I think Gallowglass is going to stir some stuff up.
Gallowglass is gonna have his feelings known, but you have to remember in the mythos, Gallowglass is Fernando's stepson.
Yeah,
because he and Hugh were together, and you'll see with the whole schism thing, Scion thing, that Gallowglass is going to have some opinions because it was put forward in this episode, the idea of having their own family. I think that he's going to have some words to say because, as you can tell, because of Fernando. By the way, Fernando's one of my favorites. Fernando's pissed because it's been what 700 years, and he's like, you still don't accept me being a widow to my husband or my mate, because they were mated. In this world, if you're mated, you're mated for life. You can't mate again. So I think that Gallowglass is going to help his father maybe get some not vengeance, but at least some justice,
some respect.
Some respect
at the very least, because I tell you, Fernando, we only saw Fernando really in like one scene, and he stole that scene.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
That story, that powerful. And you know, one of the things that I'm seeing with A Discovery of Witches, they do really well at establishing strong relations between people who we don't see share the screen. Philippe and Isabeau were a great example of that. And now it's like Fernando and Hugh. We've never seen Hugh. The only thing we know about him is that was Gallowglass's father. But I felt like I knew more about that character just from that one scene. It was very powerful. They did some great acting in this episode. Now,
yes.
My other complaint.
Because I got one.
And I know it's only the first episode, but I'm not really feeling this new Baldwin.
Oh, come on. That's the best part.
No.
That's the best part.
No.
Is he made out of plastic or something?
I love the new Baldwin.
Stoic. He's too stoic. He's too calm. It's not even the clean part. Ugh. He's too calm. When they were in the congregation and he found out that Peter Knox not only went to Set Tour, but murdered someone on Set Tour grounds, it doesn't matter that it was a witch. He had the gall and the audacity to go to Set Tour and commit a crime against another creature. The old Baldwin, and I understand he couldn't come back and film because of all the COVID stuff from last year. I get it. But that other Baldwin, just imagining his reaction and the way he would have reacted at that dinner table when they were talking about Philippe, he just brought a whole different energy to Baldwin. And this new calm, I'm gonna keep my cool, and it's too polished for me. That's just,
I loved it.
No, see, this is what bothers me about it. What bothers me is, I always look at the political aspects of these things, and the fact that you are supposed to be the head of the congregation, you're supposed to be the head of the most powerful family, not just the vampires, this most powerful family. You are the son of the person that created the congregation, and you sit there and you seem to be okay with this witch coming onto your ancestral home, your father's land, the man who created the congregation, the man who created all these rules. You are okay with him coming onto that property uninvited. This is set aside that he killed someone there under your family's protection. He, against all their rules, came onto your property uninvited, and you don't want to do anything but expel him from the council.
That's what I was gonna say. Oh, but he did something. He's been expelled from the congregation, and
that's what I said. Right when I was like, and like you really, I have a hard time wrapping my head around a character who talks about the shit that he talks about My father this, my father that, this family this, vampires that. The rules must be recognized. And you let this motherfucker come onto your property uninvited. And the only consequence is you put him in the corner and slap him on the wrist?
Or like Matthew said, oh, he lost his job. Boo-hoo. I mean,
really? Philippe would have slit that motherfucker's throat in front of everyone and been like, what y'all gonna do about it? I thought so, and would have sat down.
Well, I agree with both of you, but see, here's my thing. You have to remember how old Baldwin is. Baldwin was a Roman senator back in the day, Julius Caesar era, and Philippe was Greek. And so Baldwin is so old that sometimes the rules of the game, so to speak, really constrict you because of your upbringing. Now, was I happy to see old boy get out? Yes. Do I think that Agatha got justice? We'll talk about that later. But I think that this Baldwin, was much more exciting to me because he had no reaction. Now, Baldwin is a character that everyone hates. Nobody in his family likes him. Like nobody. Okay.
I get the impression Philippe didn't even care for him much.
He didn't. No, he didn't. Nobody liked Baldwin at all. It's like, that wet blanket of a cousin that you have that always shows up and just dampens. That's been Baldwin his entire life. But because he was the oldest, see, here's the thing that I have about dynasties, and I have a problem with inheritance issues. And I hate to say it, but it's actually true. Sometimes the oldest child is not the best child to take over the family. And this is the case with Baldwin. He's not the best person to be the head of the family, but because he is the head of the family, he feels a certain type of way about everyone else around him, because in the book, he has the instance of he gets upset about something. He wakes every single family member that is of a certain age and male, notice I said male, trots their asses outside, proceeds to tell them individually, very loudly, what he's going to do if they disobey them, and sends them back to bed.
And see, I don't see this Baldwin. This Baldwin doesn't have that kind of presence to me.
Right.
And again, it's just the first episode, so it could change. But when he raised his voice, I was more startled than like being who that person. How dare you? Da 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 da. I was looking at him like, okay, whatever. Matthew is much more, huh?
Second of all, who is this motherfucker to tell who can eat at the table and who can't? And you let this fucking witch come onto your property uninvited, but yet the people who are invited are not good enough to eat with you.
Notice Phoebe. Fuck this motherfucker. Notice Phoebe was not even at the second table. Phoebe was up in her room. Okay.
I mean,
I agree with you, Anthony.
Yeah, I had a problem with when he walked into the congregation. I was like, okay, this is a little more cleaned up, polished version. But to me, I think, and I understand what you're saying, Lori, like the fact that he's not making any reaction. Yes, those are generally the people you have to worry about. But there was something about the other actor, and my mind just went blank. But the way that he portrayed Baldwin is kind of like he was calm, but with his eyes and his facial expressions, you could tell that he was ready to snap on the drop of a dime. Like everybody was after him. They were trying to get him off. They even, considered beheading him at one point. And the way that he reacted, I was like, yeah, okay, you know what? This is one that seems like he doesn't have his shit together, but I could see him dipping in the pots and making sure everything is going the way it's supposed to go. There's no one, I don't know. I just...
Wait. It isn't Peter Knox the same dude that wanted Baldwin to be beheaded?
Yes.
And you let this motherfucker walk out of the congregation after coming onto your property uninvited, murder someone under your family's protection.
Right. But
this is the same dude that was trying to get you beheaded.
So, okay. Yeah, right. But here's the other question too. So when they're in the congregation and they're talking about everything that's going on, and they're throwing their shade at Baldwin, oh, you might want to go home to set tour and blah blah blah. First of all, I know Jabert has spies, but how the fuck does he already know that Matthew and Diana are back and that they're married? Like, how does he know all of that? Because chances are when Matthew and Diana got there, the fact that they walked in, or that they time walked back to the house to immediately be confronted with Emily's murder, I'm sure they weren't going around telling everybody their business, and whatever business they told stayed within Septour. Baldwin wasn't there because Baldwin didn't even know they were back. So how is it that they know that Diana and Matthew were back? How did they know that they were married? Like, I have questions.
Honestly, I don't know, but the most important thing is that Agatha had the floor and they rode over her like no one's business.
Let me tell you about that disrespect.
Sorry, Anthony, I didn't mean to.
And you knew I was coming. You knew I was coming.
I knew she was coming. I knew she was coming for that.
I was getting to that. She stood up and Jabert immediately started talking. She was like, Jabert, I have the floor. And they continue to talk around her and say, oh, we have more important issues. We have a blood rage vampire. You know what? I'm sorry. Whoever wrote that scene does not know how to write a Black woman properly, because ain't no way in hell she would have let that slide. There's no way she would have let that disrespect slide, especially considering how strong she was about being respected in the last season. That didn't make any sense to me.
Well, so one of the issues, Robert's Rules of Order.
I'm sorry, what was that, Lori?
They need a copy of Robert's Rules of Order for one thing. I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
I was just gonna say one of the things though, between the Agatha thing and being interrupted and how Baldwin is acting, it seems like maybe there was a writing change, because the writing just seems a little bit inconsistent, and it's only been one episode, and we're only like 15 minutes in, and it's already not consistent with.
I noticed that too.
What was before and what's going on now. It just seems really, really strange what's happening. I
agree. That whole congregation scene, it was like half irritating because of those things, and then again it was satisfying because you finally got people standing up to Peter Knox, especially Satu. I was like, yes, girl, finally. He was like, what are you doing? She was like, Peter, you killed a witch. And I almost half expected her to say, and this isn't the first time you've done so. Let's just put it all out there. Not only did he kill Diana's aunt, but he also killed her parents. Did you guys know that?
See, this scene was written for the show because this scene is not in the book. In the book, it simply says that Peter Knox has been booted from the council. So they had to create this scene for the show. And I think that with book 3 is that I think we're going to get a lot of instances where they're going to have to insert stuff from the book that's off camera, so to speak, and make it into the show. Now, watching this, I loved it because we got to see it, but at the same time, Agatha got disrespected, but Peter got off. It showed us the keys, it showed us Delmonico, it showed us, with everyone there, but it's like they're at half strip with the writing, like Anthony said. It feels kind of not quite all there. Now, again, this is all pandemic stuff, but like I said at the top of the podcast, they basically shoved a good third of the last book just in this episode. I mean, because they have, I forget how many pages the book is, but there is a lot of stuff that they got to get through these 8 episodes. And they really got to move at a decent clip to get through it. But at the same time, half of that stuff is basically stuff that you don't need to include because it's not really important. It's more their day-to-day lives dealing with various things versus the storyline. I mean, they threw in some things. Now, the thing that I liked is that they did bring in Diana's best friend, Chris Roberts, the doctor. Now, Key is really kind of cool because Diana has always struck me as being someone who's sort of a little bit of a loner. So to find out that this was he from Alabama? This Alabama black man is her best friend. You're like, oh, okay, because again, people you don't think they would hang out together, they're best friends. He is a very interesting person because he basically says, you know what? If this is what you say it is, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna roll with it, and he's gonna hopefully have a lot more because I like seeing him and I want to see more of him.
Yeah, he was interesting, and I actually disagree with you a little bit there because he wasn't the okay, this is what you say it is, let's roll on. He was like, so you expect me to believe that witches and vampires and other creatures exist, but you haven't given me any proof. Nah, we're gonna hold off on that. And then they had to give him the proof, and he was like, okay, so are you doing that on a molecular level? Like, how does this work? Like, he's one of those people that he had to see it in order to believe it. So I do like that about him. I also got the feeling that he probably had more than friendly feelings for Diana, because the way that he was approaching her and talking to her, it was kind of like, you've just all but ignored me. Like, you're not. I don't know, something about the way he came across. And then, when she introduced him to Matthew, he was just like, oh, okay, so you got your boyfriend. And then he said husband, and he's just looking like, fuck.
Well, in the book, Sarah and Emily tried to get those two together for years, and it never took.
Okay.
So he never said that he was 100% supporting that idea. It was more along the lines of, if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't.
Okay. Yeah. But he was interesting, but we'll come to him. We'll get to him later. So Peter Knox has been expelled from okay. I'm about to add on to your indignant stance, Anthony. Not only did this motherfucker get on your property and kill a witch, but after you expel him, he has the nerve to turn around to one of the congregation members and says, do you think this will keep your family safe? Think again. Did you just threaten a congregation member in front of the whole fucking congregation?
He sure did. He's a bold.
And then shit happened to you? Nah.
Well,
my only conclusion, or the only conclusion that I could draw, was that someone put a hit out on this motherfucker and they ain't worried about it. It's almost like, yeah, we're gonna kick him out, but trust me, we got shit in the background. His time on Earth has been severely limited.
It's probably Domenico.
Well, yeah,
this dude Domenico got, he got plans on top of plans
on top of plans on top of plans on top of plans and plans on top of those plans. Like, Domenico is like,
he forever talking to someone like, yeah, I got your back. What you want in return? Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it.
And just man.
Well, see, here's my issue. We know what the vampires can do. We know what the witches can do, but all we know is that they're demons. And that's all you said. We haven't seen them do any powers. They've got to have something. Come on now. Why, if they didn't, they wouldn't be on the congregation.
Well, I mean, you got two of them giving birth to a witch. So
I'm gonna stand by my position.
Yeah.
Last time that the demons are the key to the whole thing. That they're the blank slates for where all the other creatures come from.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that, Anthony, because you can't have if they can't do anything, why are they even on the congregation in the first place?
Exactly.
Like, you already control how they congregate. Like, they can't even meet in large numbers within their own kind. Like, what the fuck is that?
But they're supposed to be the creative ones, the ones with all the intelligence, but you don't want them to congregate
because they have all of that intelligence.
You don't want them to mate.
Yeah.
You don't want them. There has to be reasons for it, but it's hurting the other creatures too. So I still think that they are the key to this is my opinion, they're very key to other creatures.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Lori got quiet real quick.
Well, no, because I was thinking about his Matthew's was it Ben, his best friend, who's the lawyer who basically runs London. He really didn't have much to say. Hamish, thank you. Hamish, he really didn't have much to say. I mean, Hamish is one of these people who they said was a demon, but he was more analytical. He was more set up toward finances and law versus the artistic. And he just sort of sat there with the rest of them at the second, table that they had at Septor. And I'm like,
oh, believe me, Hamish was taking it all in. That's the vibe I get from him. Like, Hamish just paying attention to everything that's going on. He's looking at all the dynamics. And then you have to think about it for Hamish too. This is something new. Demons and witches and vampires all being in the same room together, sharing space, congregating, basically it's like, the whole Scion thing, I understand it, but it's like they're, we talked about last season, it's almost like they're forming their own congregation. And I think Hamish is just paying attention to what's going on, and he's probably looking at the things, like you said, he's analytical. He's probably looking at the things that nobody else is really paying attention to.
I agree with that, because like I said, I really want us to find out what the demons could actually do, because right now the demons, if they are the most important ones there, creatures there, that's fine, but just don't give them intellect, give them a supernatural power, because what's the point of being a demon if all you are is creative and smart? I mean, anybody can do that. I mean, I'm just saying. I know that's horrible to say that, but it's kind of true.
No, I got it. But I will say that family dinner. First of all, okay, hold on. Since we talked about Gallo Glass earlier, I have to say, him riding on that motorcycle and then walking into Septor, I was just like, he just looks like he belongs there. But and I'm sure that probably hadn't changed once Matthew and Diana left. He had that he said he didn't go to France anymore because France was where his father was killed. And so now the fact that he actually showed up to Septor, I think because of his experience with Matthew and Diana, and then, knowing that they were there, I was glad to see it.
He said something interesting. He said, there's some of us have been waiting hundreds of years for you to return. That was very interesting that he said that, the way he said that.
But I think that he probably said that because if you see the trailer for the next episode, we do get Father Hubbard back. And then towards the end of that trailer, he's meeting with Matthew and Diana. And she says, Father Hubbard, what are you doing here? And he said, you entrusted something into my care. And I was like, oh, he's got Jack. But I have a feeling Jack is not little Jack anymore. Jack is a big Jack.
And Jack is a bloodlusted vampire slaughtering people.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's what that is. But we'll talk about Jack later, because I have some thoughts on that as well. But that family dinner, so again, going back to Baldwin. So Baldwin is supposed to be head of the family, right? But he's only head of the family because Hugh died, because Hugh was the oldest son of Philippe's. Okay. So if you notice during that family dynamic, of course, Baldwin is the one, he's in charge. I'm the head of the family. My father did this, or Philippe. Matthew calls Philippe his father more than Baldwin does, which is interesting to me. But he keeps saying all of this stuff, and then he's making all these side comments to Diana. And then when he starts talking about, I guess there was another witch and vampire who had, procreated, and I don't know what happened to that child, but apparently it was a sore subject because even Gallowglass said, Baldwin, that's enough. And Baldwin turned to look at him like, how dare you? But he didn't say shit back to Gallowglass. I was like, that started me thinking, okay, I didn't get a chance to read the books, and I haven't looked at any canon, because I figure at this point I might as well just go ahead, let season 3 go, and then I'll read the books then. But I'm wondering, like, is Gallowglass older than Baldwin?
He could be.
No, Gallowglass is not older than Baldwin. Gallowglass is about 400 or 500 years younger, but that's not the point of this whole conversation. The point of the conversation is who in the family knew what happened in Jerusalem, including Miriam, and how is this going to impact the rest of the season? And that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not spilling this season.
Yeah, no. You're talking about the conversation that Matthew had with Diana about how Benjamin came into the picture and what happened, just him touching about that just a little bit. That right, you're saying, right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not saying, yeah. So it's not Gallowglass was born right before Scotland was Scotland.
Okay.
So you have to figure that if Hugh was 600 years with Fernando, and then 700 years, that's what, 1300 years.
1300 years.
And then you add on how old he was before. Gallowglass was born like 200 years before Scotland became Scotland.
Okay.
Well, also, like, technically, if Hugh formed his own family and Gallowglass is in that family, then Baldwin has no authority over him.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
So he can't say shit to him because he didn't have any authority over.
Right. So like he's part of the family, but he's not part of the family that you can control. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he can't. But see, what I find interesting about this whole idea that they're floating is that, yes, that would solve a lot of problems. But on the other hand, you've got other people in the family like Diana, like Phoebe, who would benefit more if they were split off. But how much power would Baldwin lose if they did another branch?
Yeah, because it will weaken the family further, because it doesn't help the family's strength that Fernando and Gallowglass are not the Clermonts.
And obviously, if they were to split, Isabel ain't staying with Baldwin.
Well, no. Slight correction. Gallowglass is a de Clermont. He just refused to step foot back into France after Hugh died. Fernando is not a de Clermont.
Yeah.
Right, but since Hugh created his own, he created a scion that would make Gallowglass part of that scion. But
Gallowglass was made a vampire before the scion, so that makes him falls under the regular de Clermont branch. Or I mean, I'm splitting hairs. I'm just asking, is that because if you look at family lineage, I'm thinking that would. This is not from the book. This is just me asking a general question.
Well, generally, like even in feudal Japan, when they have satellite houses or satellite clans, that they are aligned with them, even though they're related to them, they're aligned with them, but they're not subject to their authority.
Yeah. And then thinking about what Gallowglass said when they were having the meeting, he said, if you break off and create a scion, then everybody that you sired will also fall under that scion. So even if Gallowglass was created before scion was created, because of the fact that Hugh created the scion, that means that everyone that he has turned falls under that scion, and then everybody that Gallowglass has turned will fall up under that as well.
So fire lines is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why Marcus wanted Matthew to do that, was that would allow them to take everybody with them.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we don't know if Baldwin has any kids or how many people are with him that he's turned. We don't know that number.
But I
I
mean,
don't think it's many.
But the fact that none of them have shown up yet, even if he does have them, that tells how they feel about him. They probably like,
I was thinking that too.
This
Like,
dude,
this motherfucker. God damn it.
right? So I don't know, but I just thought that was interesting. You know, he's sitting here supposedly having all this power, and then Gallo Glass basically turns to him and says, "Shut the fuck up." And all he does is just look at him. And I was just like,
because he can't say shit to him. He don't have no authority over him. He can
Yeah.
talk to Isabel. He can talk to Isabel out of pocket. You know what I mean? He does because she's under his authority.
But Isabel, let me tell you, that chick is cool as a cucumber, because at the end of the episode, when he was like, "I'm surprised that you didn't go with them," she was like, "Another hollow victory." Like, and he's like, "You know this is gonna be ugly. Goodbye, Baldwin." And she just kept that same old leisurely walk, like, I'm not paying attention to nothing you say.
The funny thing is, he can come out of pocket at her as much as he wants to. She ain't bothered.
Not at all.
She'll go get her a glass of wine and be like, "Have at it, Haas."
Right. Baldwin is like the gum at the bottom of her shoe. And I was like, she only puts up with him because he's Philippe's son. That's it. That's it.
And he's officially the head of the family. That's it.
But I have questions that I don't want to know book spoilers, but I hope that we find out. Hi there. I hope that we find out a little bit more about Hugh and how he died, because I have a feeling there's some shady shit behind that. So
yeah, see that's the thing that is curious, because a lot of this family stuff that they have is that they dance around certain things and they don't mention them, or if they do, they just give us like, a little bit, like, okay, I'm going to use an example. Miriam, I would love to know more about her. We don't know that much about her. Okay. I'll give you
she's not a sire of Matthew's.
No, she's a family friend.
She's a family friend.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, because unless you read the books, you don't know that. We only know that because Lori told us that. But if you are not a book reader and you don't know anything about that history, then watching this episode would be really confusing, because Miriam did not sit with the family. She sat down with the other creatures. And I was like, if I didn't already know that Miriam was not sired by Matthew, this scene would have really confused me, because you don't, like, why is she there? Like, how did she get there? What, and she's very loyal to Matthew, we see. So yeah, I think they need to put some of that background in there. But doesn't her husband tie into that Jerusalem stuff too?
Her husband is a Knight of the Lazarus, so yes, he does.
Okay.
I'm not
so
saying
maybe we will
else.
get that. Maybe we will get that story as well.
We might. I look at it this way: Discovery Witches is very smart and very clever, and I love what they do. But they have a problem where, like we just said, they don't give us certain details. You got to guess. Like Fernando comes in, right? Love Fernando, right? Obviously, he's the Spanish Moor, all this other stuff. But you see him, but you have all these questions. But at the same time, you don't know if he's just there for Sarah or is he going to do something else, because it's just random. Same thing with Chris. Chris, obviously, we know Chris is going to help them out, but to what extent is Chris going to help them out? He didn't go running for the hills, but at the same time, like you said, he wanted proof. Hamish, they have him as Matthew's best friend, but other than the couple episodes, we don't see and we don't know a lot about Hamish. So they sort of zero in on certain people. I mean, I know everything I need to know about Sarah. I know everything I need to know about Baldwin, Gerbert, Peter Knox, but certain people that are in the family, we don't know anything. Like, we knew who Emily was, but we really didn't know Emily's background, right? We knew that she was her aunt, but where's this black lady in the middle of you know, upper New York, Bridges of Madison County. Where'd she come from? What's her story? So they do a lot of that, and we're gonna see a lot of different things, I think, throughout the season, where they're gonna pull in people because of the plot points, but they're not going to go in depth because they got, like I said, they got a lot of work they got to do if they're going to technically get through the book. Now, again, my thing is that with Marcus and Phoebe, they are the first book of the 3-book trilogy of the new series. I want nothing more in my entire fiber by being for them to say midway through that they're going to do them as a continuation of the series, because that would make me happy.
Yeah, and I get that, but I think for me, I'm still not completely on the Marcus and Phoebe boat yet. And it's because I feel like they rushed the relationship in season 2. Like, literally, you spend the night, one night. Now, I can understand she may have some bomb stuff that might be true, but you spend one night with her and you are ready to risk it all for her. You're telling her all your business. You're telling her your past. You're telling her about your family. I mean, you're basically outing other people to her as creatures without their permission, the whole purpose of the creatures, they hide from the humans. They keep their existence secret from the humans. And here you are after one night telling, oh yeah, that's my dad and that's his girlfriend, wife, whatever. That's why I wanted the portraits. And this is my grandmother. And, oh yeah, I have 2 demons living in the house, and she's about to be she's pregnant. She's about to give birth. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of stuff that Phoebe comes to know within like days. And I just feel like that's so rushed. Now, I don't know if it has to do with maybe he craved her in the same way that Matthew was craving Diana. I don't know if craving is a thing that I don't know if that exists amongst vampires who are not blood raged. Maybe maybe they just clicked. Maybe it was just something, I don't know, but I feel like they rushed that relationship. And then she has a job. She has a pretty important job. And she just all of a sudden dropped everything to go to France because of all of this creature drama that's going on. Like, I just feel like that's really like you literally just dropped your life to go follow this vampire that you've only known, technically speaking, maybe a couple of weeks at this point. I'm just not like, the idea of them is cute, and I like the idea of him having someone that will stand up for him, because I will give it to Phoebe when she walked in there and introduced herself to Matthew and he was going off on Marcus, and she was like, hold up. I was like, okay, I'm down for Phoebe. I'm just not like, I'm not on the good ship, whatever their ship name is. I'm not there yet.
You're not in love with the
I'm
idea.
not there yet because I haven't had time. Like, I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, that relationship feels rushed and feels it, like I said, I'm not connected to it yet. But then these same writers gave me a relationship like Philippe and Isabeau, who never shared the screen together.
Right.
And had me in my feelings because I was like, why is he dead? They need to be together. Like, I felt so invested into that relationship. So I don't know. It's weird.
I think what's on my column for them is that basically the first book of the new trilogy of books is that Phoebe has decided to become a vampire to be with Marcus.
Yeah, but they don't talk about that in the show yet, so we can't.
Right. So
I know that there's some information that we get from the books that translate to the show, but if it hasn't been mentioned yet, I don't really want to go into all of the book stuff because we already see that they're probably going to change a lot of it.
But what I was just going to say is that I think that the reason they introduced them so quickly last season is because they will hopefully announce a sequel to A Discovering Witches. That's because that's all I saw last season. Because yes, it was 2 weeks. Yes, she has an important job. Yes, I would kill to be a curator like she is. Nobody in their right mind leaves a job like that to be with old boy. So I think that was made there specifically for the spinoff. And I'm not talking books, I'm just talking in general.
Okay. Hey, Mike just joined us. Hey, Mike.
Sorry guys. I'm sorry I'm late. I was dreaming. Sorry, I actually fell asleep and like just knocked out. It's been a day.
That's cool.
I apologize.
That's cool. So we've really only touched on a couple of things right now. We've talked about the new Baldwin, and kind of what we think about him. What do you think about him? Like, are you cool with him? Does he strike you as weird? I'm not feeling him yet.
Yeah, Baldwin's a bitch.
I don't think I could have summed it up any better than that. That's dumb.
I'm sorry. Okay. It's like when I saw him, even when I heard his voice, okay, I'm of two minds. First, when I saw him, I was like, he's way younger than the other Baldwin was. Like he looked younger to me. It looked like a completely different person to me, kind of. And his voice was just grating, like he sounded mousy and like a little privileged brat. I was just like, you. And then like what he said and like how he was talking to everybody who wasn't like born to Philippe, basically was just, I was like, you know what? I'm done with you. We're done here. I'm just like for real. I mean, he seemed way different because previously with Baldwin, I felt like he was the Moriarty to Marcus's Sherlock. I thought they were like at least on the same level mentally.
Okay. Marcus?
You see what I'm saying?
I think he meant
not Marcus.
Matthew.
Okay.
My
bad. Yeah, I thought like they were at least on the like close to the same level mentally. But this guy, no. I can't with him because it's just like he just seems like a brat now who is bathed in privilege, as to where the previous Baldwin seemed like a little more, not necessarily cultured, but maybe more so kind of just, there's something lacking with that dude. And I can't deal.
Yeah. And just for reference, Tristan Gravel, who played Baldwin for seasons 1 and season 2, he is 41. Peter McDonald, who plays Baldwin now, he is 49. So yeah, but you know what? The old Baldwin, he didn't look old to me. I mean,
right.
Yeah,
okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't look old to me. I think for me, he made Baldwin because of the way that he reacts to things, but I don't know, this new one, he's a little too calm. He's a little too, I feel like he's feeling himself when he has not given himself reason to be feeling himself. Like Anthony and I discussed before we got on here. You let a witch came onto your property, killed another witch, and then after you expelled him, he turned around to another congregation member and basically threatened her family in front of everybody without even telling. Okay, here's the other thing. So Jabert and all of them, they've already told the whole congregation, yeah, Matthew and Diana are back. They're married, all this other stuff. But and y'all have such a gripe with them, but y'all didn't mention anything about the witch that was born to the demons, if that's how y'all really want to play it. Like, y'all got too many games and go. I don't know. It's just that whole dynamic. Like Anthony said, the writing for this episode and that in particular just seemed a little inconsistent with what we've gotten over the last two seasons.
Did y'all already talk about the meeting?
The congregation?
The congregation, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you can give us your thoughts.
Yeah. Oh my God, that literally screamed like 1960s segregation to me. Like, holy shit! Like when they said, okay, she started. What's her name? The demon
Agatha.
Agatha called the meeting, so Agatha was the meeting about. She can't even get a word in edgewise until somebody like cuts her off and doesn't let her say. Yeah, we didn't already
voice our
has already voiced her displeasure.
Oh my God. I was like, I mean, and then it's like they seem to scoff at anything Agatha said. Like they're like, psh. I mean, they pretty much made it like demons are basically the black folks of the supernatural world. Like they're just like they don't care. Mm-hmm. Like you have something to say, and we don't care. Like y'all, like and you can see it because they said, well, you guys recently just got access and your voice heard. So why should we even pay attention to you? Mm-hmm. So it's like, that really pissed me off. I was just like, and especially the aloof way that Knox was at. Knox really was like, nothing's gonna happen. Like, whatever. He's like, maybe I did, but I was defending myself. Whatever. Let's go.
He was very high and mighty in that chamber until they said you have been expelled. And he was like, no. He sounded like a 3-year-old having a tantrum, but yeah.
He kind of reminded me of the Randolph and Mortimer Duke in trading places when they lost. When after they lost all their money, they're like, "There's been a Duke on the board since the sport began. Turn these machines back on." And he was like, "You know how long I've been here?" And they're like, "Okay, bye." Mm-hmm. But see, that's what you get for being a bitch and burning bridges and trying to be higher than your stage. I think I said that at the beginning of the second season.
You did.
Like
you did. But it was extremely satisfying. It wasn't enough.
Very
but it was satisfying to see his ass. Don't let the door hit you when you walk out.
No, and the post-credit scene where it looked like he was trying to get, what's the other witch's name?
Satu.
When it looked like he was using his focus object to kind of threaten Satu, and Satu was like, you can't threaten me anymore. I think she figured out a way to shield that.
Well, you have to remember, after what happened with her and Diana last season, she went back to her grandmother and learned and properly trained to be a weaver. Yeah. So right now I think she was more powerful than Knox anyway. The only reason why he seemed more powerful is because he's using dark magic. But no, Satu is using her weaver magic. And I think now she's about to tell Peter, look, I'm not your little bitch anymore. Bye.
I think that's one of the main reasons why she voted against him, because she's not afraid of anything he can do. He can do to her. He's like, nah.
Yeah. And then not only that, he killed not just one witch. You got to remember, she also knows that he killed Diana's parents. So literally, in your pursuit of power, you done killed this girl's pretty much her whole family, except for Sarah. So
not only that, he's killed his own kind. So I mean, that's like a double thing. It's just like, I mean, that's just inexcusable.
And don't forget the witch's head that he held hostage for how many hundreds of years.
That too. Yeah. Well, that was Gerbert.
That was Gerbert.
But Peter Knox, I'm sure, knew about it. But I just want to flip the script just for a brief second. Sadness, death, sadness, funeral, all this stuff. Was anybody a little disconcerted or concerned the fact that they were all sad and then we're having twins and we're sad, oh, we're having twins, or we're sad, oh, we're having twins, and then back to sad?
That's the inconsistent writing again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be that dramatic, but still.
No, but I mean, there was a lot of, trying to think of the best way to put it. There was a lot of things going on, and then in the midst of all of that, it is, I don't know, it's kind of like when you have a group of friends and you're talking about having a bad day and somebody's like, well, oh no, my day was worse than yours. Let me tell you about what happened to me. Oh no, well, mine was worse than that. I mean, it's kind of like everybody was trying to one up each other on how shitty things were.
Right.
And I think the best example of how that was affecting everyone was Sarah. When she was standing by the piano, she just simply said, nobody talks about M. And at this point, we don't know how long it's been. I mean, they've been in France, they've had a funeral, they've traveled from France back to England. So we don't know how long this has taken. We don't know how long they stayed there to mourn, how long it was before Baldwin got there. We don't know any of that. Time is kind of irrelative here.
The book has them in England for 18 months.
Yeah, but we already know that the book, the timeline doesn't necessarily match up between book and show.
And I think to answer your question, because I actually went back and I looked at this, I think that they're showing up somewhere in the fall after they came back, because remember, her time isn't precise because her father was more precise. So I think that time-wise, it's probably fall or early fall.
Okay. So
with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just one of those things, like even with the whole meeting with Agatha, she was there. She called the meeting because of Peter Knox, and they basically usurped her time. They were like, no, we have something more important. We need to talk about these blood rage vampires, which, okay, I understand the blood rage vampire is an important issue, probably for all creatures. Yes, I get this, but y'all have some other shit to talk about too. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think that was it was rampant in this episode. Like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm coming to introduce you, and Matthew was sitting there mad because of everything. Like, you're telling Marcus you're supposed to uphold the sanctity of Setor. Did you not hear Marcus before you left when he said he wasn't ready for this? 1, 2, you left him in charge because you thought he was going to be what was best for the Knights of Lazarus. Marcus is trying to implement change that the congregation and the covenant will not allow. I mean, think about it. Y'all are still following rules from 900 years ago. Do y'all not realize that things change? And as things change and evolve, so much your rules. Oh, what does that sound like? Let's talk about real life. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's trying to do what he feels is best for the times. You should be supporting him because technically speaking, you are breaking your own father's covenant by being married to a witch and now procreating with her. Marcus is trying to undo that damage. And in doing so, yeah, okay, you already knew Setor wasn't secure because Satu took Diana from the grounds too. So you should have worried about that before you went on your merry way to 1590. So it's kind of one of those things, like when Marcus said, you know, one thing I've learned, he said, I used to always take being, disappointing you personally, but now I see no one is above reproach, including you. Like, Matthew, you got some things to answer for too. You know, the whole keeping your blood rage status a secret from a child that you sired. And instead of telling him what was going on, he tries to sire more people. And from what I understand, Matthew killed pretty much everybody who had blood rage. I think a few slipped, through his fingers. But for the most part, I mean, Marcus even said it last season. The children I sired And what was it? Isabeau told him, Philippe, what was it? You were told that the sirens didn't take or whatever. So everybody that Marcus may have tried to sire, Matthew went to kill because of their secret. Bruh, you can't be throwing stones. You got a lot of shit to answer for. And then the fact that you're sitting here getting mad at him because he's falling in love during a time when y'all got stuff going on. Excuse me, pot kettle. You did the same thing.
Right.
So
those the Clermont boys are some assholes.
They
I
wild.
tell you. Oh
They
my God.
wildin'.
Gallowglass, as of right now, Gallowglass is the only one who seems to have his shit on straight.
That's because but see that's only because he just got there. Give him like a couple weeks. Next thing you know, he's gonna be wilding too. He's gonna be out there on Trafalgar Square like woo.
No,
Fernando
he
doesn't
won't.
seem to
that's
be too
not
bad
even
either.
right. But you're right though, because the Clermont boys have some issues. That's all I'm gonna say. Issues. But see, the problem that I have is watching this episode, and when Diana asked him who's Benjamin, and of course, like we talked earlier, was the side thing. They're gonna have some pretty hard conversations, because once they figure out, who is the blood rage killer or all this other stuff, and the evidence that DeMonico was giving was it Gerbert, they got a lingering problem. Now, here's my thing: asking Diana's best friend Chris to look into this, because he goes, we need a cure for blood rage. Okay, well, that's fine, but don't you think that if you as a scientist have spent how many years trying to nail this down, you're not going to get it within like 3 days in a centrifuge, right? So there's obvious writing problems with this episode. The other thing that really bothered me is that everyone is running around, grief this, death this, but they, on the Clermont side, aren't necessarily talking about the blood rage as far as the killer, because he's like, well, we're going to use science. Well, you guys were in England, you were all happy, you came back, you're pregnant, you're married, you've got this, you've got that. I think that Gerbert and DeMonico actually have the right type of attitude, because unless you get this quote unquote vampire problem taken care of, I'm using air quotes, everything else isn't going to go forward. Splitting off the family, telling Baldwin to go pound sand, none of that can occur until you get this taken care of.
Right.
And yes, I did mean that when I said about Baldwin.
They have issues within their family, and they need to work those out. But in the midst of all of that, I don't know. First of all, also the thing that irritates me, going back to Baldwin, how you gonna come in the house and you tell the husband of the woman whose aunt Peter Knox murdered, you come into the house and you basically say, I'm demanding that everyone in this family leave Peter Knox alone. What in the world kind of vice grip does Peter Knox have your balls in for you to be protecting him after all of this? Like you said, Anthony, you was just trying to behead me a few months ago.
I still don't understand.
Like,
you would think he'd be like, you know what? Whatever y'all do with Baldwin, whatever y'all do with Peter, it is what it is. He ain't a member of the congregation anymore. But like, oh, don't touch him. Don't touch him. Dude, just yesterday, he wanted to chop your head off.
Yeah, it's like, and that, yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. And then it's like, I mean, yeah, like you said, if I was him, I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna say don't touch him, but I'm gonna look over here. If y'all want to go ahead and handle that, go ahead. But I mean, he literally was. If it would have seemed like that, that would have been fine. But I just don't like this dude. Like I actually tolerated Baldwin before, but it's like now with the new guy, I don't like him.
Well, I mean, I didn't like Baldwin before either, but I mean, he serves a purpose. Somebody has to be
Yeah.
an antagonist within the family, and he's the perfect person. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know. The way that they wrote some characters in this episode, I just feel like I said, I feel like Agatha, as much woman power as she was giving us last season, for her to sit there and allow them to bulldoze her when she had the floor. And I don't know. And maybe it's just because of the fact that she was already scared, because Knox came to the hospital room and basically was like, yeah, we're coming to get your grandchild because she's a witch. We're going to take care of her. We're going to raise her, blah, blah, blah. So maybe she was already nervous because of that, but it still seemed very out of character for her to let them just walk over her. Satu as well. The way that she was sitting in that chair and she was kind of real shaky and kind of like, yeah, that, I don't know. I always looked at her character as a little bit stronger than that. Yes, Peter Knox threatened her a bit, but then when she came back from dealing with Diana, even when she didn't have her magic, she didn't seem like she was that scared of him. So for her to have that body language while they were there and they were voting, granted, she might have been scared, like, okay, I'm about to vote against the person who leads, the witches, but still, I don't know, just something about those characters, it was just interesting to see how they were. And I know we're doing a lot of complaining. I actually did really like the episode, but there are just certain things that I noticed that kind of threw me off. The cinematography of the episode, the way that it filmed, it was different. Like they had a lot more close-ups.
It was darker.
Yeah.
Was that because they were in Setur though? Because Setur was not darker anyway,
but
because it's an older place.
I would I'll give you that. But I just thought the entire episode shot dark or shot at night or late afternoon.
Well, could be, but
yeah, shout out to them, that opening shot with M on the bed, like giving us hope that she might actually pull through.
That was the first thing I mentioned when we started the episode.
Don't play with my emotions. Like I was like, wait, she's gonna pull through. She gonna pull through. Then she was like, I was like,
let me tell you, I watched it with my daughter last night, and of course, we're both looking at it. Matthew and Diana, they come back, and this is literally what they're greeted with. Like, hey, what the fuck just happened? And then when she opens her eyes, my daughter was like, oh, okay, because I was gonna say they can't. She's gone. Wait, you mean they really fucking killed her? She was like, what? I said, yeah, I don't understand why y'all would just give us that hope. But like I said, I feel like that's not the last time we're gonna see Emily, hopefully. Because I mean, y'all using higher magic, y'all summoning ghosts. You tried to, she tried to summon Rebecca. Rebecca has been dead for years. She's recently dead. She's probably still tethered to the earth in some ways. You know what? We need to see Emily. She needs to help. She needs to help with this. I mean, think about it. That page didn't appear out of nowhere. Emily is somewhere behind the scenes, still trying to see what she can do to help Diana.
I want to see them try to talk to Rebecca. Rebecca appears and is like, stop trying to talk to me. Focus on what you got to do.
Oh,
poof, and disappear.
Funny. That's just funny.
Yeah. But
yeah, but it's like every time, but it's just like we say, when you practice dark magic, there's a price. Mm-hmm. There's a price to be paid. Magic, and it's like they keep fucking around with that shit. And it's like, the cost is going to keep piling up, and sooner or later that shit's going to have to get paid. They just quit fucking around and just handle their business some other way, because that shit's just going to come around and bite them. And she's getting ready to have twins. Like why are you fucking around with dark magic and you pregnant with twins that can be possessed at any moment?
I don't know. I think that them babies not gonna be just some regular babies. They're not gonna be regular witches. I mean, and then if you think about it, while she's been pregnant, she's been reading the book. So
we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
We don't know what she's subconsciously doing to them as she's reading the book.
Well, yeah. And
reading the book, jumping in time and doing all this other shit that she's doing while carrying them is going to have it's got to have an effect on them. I mean, it's like they probably come out talking and speaking arcane. Like, what the hell?
It's like you said, all magic use has a consequence.
Yep.
Well, see, given how independent Diana is, I wouldn't be surprised if she just doesn't even think about that, because she is the type of person where she really and truly wants to do what she thinks is best. And I get the sense that she's pregnant, but it's not the major thing, because when Matthew leaned over and said 2 heartbeats, she just seemed shocked and not oh yeah, I'm pregnant, I'm having more than one. It was like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant, I'm having more than one. You know what I'm saying?
I think it kind of, in a way, it kind of compounded her grief at that moment, because she was so sad about the fact that Emily was gone and that she wouldn't be able to meet the baby. So now it's like, oh, she's not going to be able to meet my babies, plural. Like, like, you know, and I think maybe even at that point, she's probably contemplating like, okay, so what have I gotten us all into? Because think about, all of this started with Diana in the book.
That's true.
So she might be feeling a little bit of guilt as well, because Emily was just trying to help her.
Right. Yeah. And, yeah. But see, you know, I mean, I again, now we did see the page show up, but there wasn't a lot of talk about the Ashmore book, which I thought was interesting.
Well, they kind of had other stuff to be dealing with.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. But Sarah said that she wouldn't have given this up without a fight, meaning the page. Now, who was old boy in the mirror talking about? You know, what did you just get here in the maid in the body? Who was that?
Who was what?
What?
The end of the episode where they got this guy and he's in the hotel room, and
that was Benjamin.
No, that was Benjamin.
That was Benjamin. Okay.
That was Benjamin.
Okay, all right. So that was Benjamin. Who was Benjamin talking to?
I judging by the trailer for the next episode, I'm thinking he was probably talking to Father Hubbard.
Okay.
Let's talk about that for a moment, because we've all had Mike has been inboxing me with questions about stuff that we discussed from last season. So in that trailer, and I mentioned this before Mike joined the chat, we see that Father Hubbard is there in London. He meets with Matthew and Diana, and when she says, "What are you doing here?" he says, "You left something in my care," and she gets this surprised look. So obviously that's probably Jack. And it's probably
that's 100% Jack.
And but the thing is, it's an older Jack. It's not little Jack.
Right. It's
an older Jack.
Yeah.
So I think what may have happened, because obviously I think Jack is the one that's going around London ripping bodies, Jack the Ripper, you know, but I think Benjamin was the one who probably infected him. He probably turned him and infected him. And he probably did it out of jealousy, because, you know, Matthew and Diana loved Jack like a son. You know, they left those portraits, those mini portraits with Jack, or they gave them to him so that he could like hold on to them while they were in Bohemia and he was still back in London, of course, not expecting him to throw enough tantrums that Francoise was like, okay, yeah, you know what? We are taking you to your parents. But I think Benjamin probably was in his feelings, and he was like, yeah, okay, you know what? Since Matthew had such disdain for me, turned me and left me to fend for myself, let's see how he'll feel when I do that to the son that he loves. I really feel like that's what that story is going to be.
My name is Bennett. I'm not saying a
yes,
word.
Don't you say nothing.
But all I have to say is that I cannot wait to see what happens, because first of all, everybody loved Jack last season. Baby Jack, 10, 11-year-old. Actually, in the book, he's 8. Baby Jack. Everyone loves Jack. Everyone loves Gallaglass. Everyone loves, everyone around. But now we're in the last season. We have my favorite Fernando. We got Gallaglass, and he's going to be interesting. And now we have Jack. Jack, for lack of a better word, is their son. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait. And of course, Father Hubbard. Man, if ever want anybody to get steak, it was Father Hubbard, but apparently he lives.
I have a question. I have a question about Gallaglass from the book. Does he have the tattoo in the book?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Okay.
It's killing me because I can't say shit.
I know. I mean, I kind of know what the tattoo is about, and I saw a photo of it, like a behind the scenes photo, and I was like,
so they're gonna do it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be good.
Yeah. So the thing with Gallaglass is, and I'm not saying any spoilers, but if you noticed when he showed up at set tour and he was given, I think he gave Diana a hug, he actually has tattoos now, And the thing with him is because he's a vampire, his skin heals. Right. So he has to go and get his tattoos redone like every few months.
Right.
And this tattoo that I saw the behind the scenes picture of, I think it starts like at his chest and it extends to his arm.
Both arms, yes, and his back.
Okay. So, but and you guys will see it whenever they get to it. But yes, it's pretty massive. So anyway.
It's gonna be good. Let me just say this. I have waited like you guys have, and I actually read the last book, like I said, like 2 weeks ago. I am so excited about this season of Discovering Witches. I mean, this is literally my favorite thing. So I'm geeked out and excited. Can't wait to see the rest of the 7 episodes.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting because even though Matthew said no, I have a feeling the Scion thing is happening because, one of the images they've continuously showed us in the trailers for season 3 is this sword on the table and all of these different hands touching the sword. I think that's probably going to tie into this Scion thing, but
I don't think I agree with you, because I don't think they would have brought it up if it wasn't an option. Like, writers like to introduce you to an idea before they give it to you in practice. So they talked about Hugh having formed his own Scion, and then Marcus brings up the idea that maybe we should do it too. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm like you, it seems like they're going to head that way. Either that or form a new congregation, form their own congregation.
Yeah, but
I think it's more likely they'll start a Scion.
I think the Scion thing, because as far as the congregation goes, it's like, why copy the same idea? Do something different and do it better. I mean, that's pretty much the whole gist of Marcus being the leader of the Knights of Lazarus. Even when Phoebe was talking to him, when he told her he was giving it up, but she was like, why would you even do that? You have the power to make things better, not just for creatures, but for everybody collectively. Why would you give that up? So that's literally like the cornerstone of who Marcus is supposed to be, or at least what I feel like they're giving us. Like, Marcus is going to be the one that kind of ushers in this change, this new mindset within the creatures. And, the other thing is, you see it in the trailer for the next episode. Matthew is talking to a group of, I don't know if they're scientists or if they're actual like just students, since they are at Oxford, but he's telling them, hey, this blood that you're studying, it's my blood. I'm a vampire. So I feel like he's doing again what Philippe tried to do with the humans way back in Jerusalem. He's trying to get some humans to trust them and to work together. He's not going to be able to do that as long as Baldwin is in charge, and he has to fall in line with what Baldwin says, and then he can't even refuse him because he's no longer the head of the Knights. He gave that to Marcus. And I'm sorry, Matthew can ask for it back. Marcus better not get that shit back. He better not. He better not. Because I feel like he is going to play an important part in how the rest of this series, how the rest of this season ends, for the creatures, for the humans, for everything that's going on. Peter Knox, I don't know if Marcus will have anything to do with that, but Peter doesn't have any support now. Basically, they're like, you know what? You kicked out, take all your shit, go find someplace else to stay. You have no support. He probably has money, but the congregation probably provides most of that. Kind of like Jabert has that really, really nice whatever
castle.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Imagine this. Matthew creates his own, he splits off and forms his own scion. And then, that's real distracting to see that. So imagine Matthew starts his own scion. He has his own scion. Marcus is in charge of the Knights of Lazarus. We don't really know much about them, but I'm assuming they're a pretty formidable organization, probably consisting of the vampires who owe some loyalty to the Clermont's families. And then you have his new scion welcoming to witches, welcoming to demons. Like, they literally have the head of the demons as being, kind of loyal and indebted to them. You're gonna have this really powerful faction led by Matthew and Diana. What is the congregation gonna be able to do about that?
Not only that, but it's like, but they're not only are they going to have new blood, they're going to be progressive, and they're going to have new they're going to
literally have all the demons flock to them,
and they're going to have kids they're going to have proof that intermingling is not a bad thing. So I mean, this is basically like the civil right, a war for civil rights. As far as this is supernatural civil rights era now.
And so then on top of that, they don't know how powerful Diana is now. Like, you have an idea because she time walked them to 1590, but she studied under Goody Alsop. She brought them back, and they have no idea how powerful she is.
Yeah, nobody has actually asked them, what happened. I mean, other than Baldwin says, I heard you were in London. Yes, I was in London, but I was at ... So yeah, that's it. But see, the thing is that this episode was very interesting because it took the focus heavily off of Diana in particular and Matthew, but it had everything else around them, but other than the twins, but they didn't really say, oh, hi, what happened? Did you find a teacher? Did you manage to control this? Did you manage to do that? I mean, I don't think that anyone knows all of that happened with her and Goody, or again, Sarah, the ancestor of the two demons that have the baby girl witch. I mean, that was her witch ancestor that was there, so there's all this stuff that they either haven't thought of or they just haven't, had the time to ask Diana, because Diana, remember, she has a familiar now also. So, and her father, with the whole time walking thing. And I still believe, and I don't know if this will happen or not, and I don't know, this is not from the books, this is just me speculating, but I believe that we will see Rebecca. I firmly believe that somewhere along the line, we're going to see Rebecca's ghost, and Rebecca is going to tell her something that is pivotal in getting them what they want.
Okay. But yeah, look, they haven't had a chance to ask them all of this stuff, but yet somehow Jabert knew that they were back and knew that they were married.
Somebody in that house is being a little spy.
I think that was just the writing thing.
I agree.
I don't think they thought that through as writers.
Yeah, this as excited as I was to watch this episode, I've only watched it once or twice now that we're talking about it, but I did think about it for a couple of days, and I really think that the writing is affected because of COVID, because it's good, but it isn't as good as season 1 or season 2. There's obviously a lot lacking in the connecting the dots together.
But the funny thing is, season 2 was filmed, a lot of it was filmed, I think, during COVID as well.
The early part, yeah, before they knew that you got to really be 6 feet away. But I think that I also think that the main character, she had a baby in real life during that time, and they did take significant time off. And like the Witcher,
she actually had 2.
Oh, she had a second one. Oh, I didn't know she had a second one. But there was a lot of time in between, because like the Henry Cavill with The Witcher, there was a lot of lag time. I think, see, this is the problem with the pandemic, because we're literally 2 years in almost, is that so much stuff was stopped and started, and now we're at the point now where it's stopping again. And I think that writing wise, unless they get people together in like a Zoom meeting type thing, they're just winging scripts that they have laying around and just cobbling stuff together. You can see that with shows like The Flash in particular. Whoever was responsible for those first 6-7 episodes need to be shot, because there was nothing that makes sense. I mean, it's the way TV is these days. TV is going to be forever changed, because you have lag time and you've got these people who are trying to be consistent, but you've got people moving on to different projects, people dropping out, people saying, I don't want to do this, I want to do that, and we're not getting consistency across the board. I mean, I can name at least 3 shows that I watch regularly that don't have consistent writing, and it's all because of COVID.
Yeah, I guess COVID's just screwing everything up.
Like,
but I don't know what else. Let's see what else happened in this episode. We talked about Fernando, we talked about Gallo Glass, we talked about Chris. I
wanted to talk about Fernando real quick. Hugh and Fernando's relationship. Like, I'm wondering, what was it about their relationship that will cause so much strife between Hugh and Philippe?
Let's see, they were gay.
They were gay. Well, that was pretty much it.
You can stop there.
Well, I don't know, because it wasn't like the Greeks and Romans were
shy.
Yeah, but you got to
remember
that.
Opposed to the idea of male on male, relations.
But you have to remember that Matthew was beholden to the church, and you have to think that Philippe thought like that in a certain way too, and the church frowned on that. So it's like, they kind of have to kowtow to that.
Yeah, see, the thing you need to remember is, even though they're vampires, the Clermonts, and I'm saying this, I'm not trying to be facetious, they're Catholic, right? So they are really Catholic. So even though they're vampires, being of a different personal persuasion, as they would say, was sort of anathema to them, and they just couldn't swallow it.
But wait, refresh my memory. Wasn't Philippe the one who had Matthew turning in Catholics, or was that?
Yes, he was. Yes,
yeah.
He was.
So
he was.
That kind of contradicts that whole mindset, at least for me.
Have you not met a holy roller who preaches one thing, but on Saturday night they're at the club? Same concept.
95% of them, but maybe we can move on from that.
Yeah, same concept.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if he was turning Catholics, I mean, maybe he just didn't like gay people. It just, I mean, that's too. Both things can individually still exist. Like he can hate the church, but still not like gay people. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think it's more. I think that's too easy. I think it has to be more than that.
Look,
Well-
you're the one talking about the writing being uneven. So I mean, it's just more
That's true.
unevenness.
More unevenness.
But I
Well,
mean, if you think about the conversation that Fernando had with Sarah, he specifically told her they accepted you, they embraced you. You had that at least. So I really feel like it had something to do with their sexuality.
Right. Yeah. Because, like I said, Gallaglass's issue was not with the family; it was with the king because of killing how he was killed. Fernando's problem is that he is a widow, and they never really basically did anything about him, and they just sort of left him hanging. That's why they had to form their own scion family, is because Philippe just couldn't move past it. Now, that's wrong, and that shouldn't happen, but at the same time, people have their own beliefs, whether they're good or bad, and whether you want to honor them or not, people are entitled to their own opinion. Now,
And that was 1,300 years ago.
and it was 1,300 years ago when it was really their opinion.
Yeah.
But it's like this. I often watch shows that deal with different issues of sexuality and things, and I ask a couple of family members who are gay, and they all give me stock answers, and some of them will actually say what they're on their mind. And I love what one of my relatives said. He goes, "They just are hating because they're not as cool as we are," and just leave it at that. I'm like, you know what? That's perfect. So I choose to think that they just weren't as cool as the rest of the family, and they just couldn't hang. I mean, that's all it is in a nutshell. But I also think that Philippe's political, social, and economic status at that time, and this is the low to high Middle Ages, because there's 3 stages of the Middle Ages: low, high, and middle. I think that in that particular time, and how they were dealing with the Catholics, and they were dealing with the Queen, because you have to remember, Church of England separated from the Catholic Church. Plus, you had Martin Luther. So they had a lot of political stuff that was rotating around the whole thing of church versus state. So when this happened, especially with Queen Bess, Queen Elizabeth, they literally could not move forward with anything unless they had the approval, quote unquote, of the various churches that were in their corner or not, especially with France at the time, and Spain into some point too. So it's not so much maybe he didn't fully support Q, his son, as being out, but it could be more along the lines of the political ramifications of everything that's surrounding them had more to do with him, because prosecuting the witches, it's not sanctifying their union. It could be a number of things, but the Middle Ages were the era, especially what I loved last season, because they went to Prague and they went into all the Middle Europe thing, which you rarely see, is that it's a dance, right? They have to be so careful, because Matthew's body and consciousness were somewhere else. He was in England. They went to Bohemia. They came back. They went to Septor. All of that is going to affect later on, because like I said, we haven't seen what the time walking effects have done. Who's to know? Remember when she was in England? Remember she moved the map around at Septor where Ysabeau had the witches? We don't know what that's going to come out to. That could be something that it could
I thought about that too.
The Salem witch trials never occurred because she did that one small act. I mean, we don't know.
Okay.
I mean, there is something to be said, because she did change those maps around, so there have to be some repercussions for that, and we haven't seen. But she's had, like you said, she's had a lot to deal with since she got back. So maybe they'll touch on it in future episodes about anything that might have changed or occurred since then.
Mm-hmm. What else do we need to talk about? Let's see.
Your boy, have you already gushed about your boy Domenico?
Oh, that was shady as heck.
Let me tell you, we talked about it. Domenico, like Anthony said, Domenico has plans on top of plans, on top of plans, on top of plans, and then plans on top of plans, on top of plans. So
he's the Don King of this series. It's like, Because it's always rumored that Don King, if his fighter loses, he always aligns himself with the winning fighter. That's exactly who Domenico is. It's like as soon as he sees somebody is like going down, he kind of sidles his way towards the winning side. But that's what I love about the dude. Like the dude is just like, he's so like cerebral, and he like thinks shit through so well. It's like he's just smooth. He's smooth as fuck with it. Like, and he never, you can tell like he hardly ever makes a move without thinking about it at least 2 or 3 times, and figuring out the consequences. And I can't wait till he turns on Javert, because it's coming. It's coming. Like, it's coming soon.
I can't remember. Did he?
He's the Aaron Burr of
Burr, sir.
Which way the wind blows. That's which way he goes.
Oh, geez.
Basically.
I can't remember. Was he one of the people that voted for Knox to be expelled?
No, he voted against it.
No. Okay. Why would he do that? That's just hurting himself.
I was just checking.
He probably already says that he was gone, but he still wanted to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna be contrary, but he's probably already gone.
He's probably like, Baldwin ain't powerful enough anymore to really do any damage to me if I vote against him. But if I vote against Knox, he might cause me some issues with Javert. So
plus Baldwin still owes him. Baldwin still owes him anyway, so it's like Baldwin can't do shit.
Yeah. So.
Yep. All right, let's see. Did we talk about everything? I know we got like the important stuff out.
The meat.
Talk about how poor Phoebe got shot down when she tried to introduce herself. She was like,
man,
she held her own. I will say that she held her own, because Matthew understandably was upset at that moment. Yeah. And he went off. But she didn't back down from him. And when Marcus came in and read him the riot act, she stood right there beside him. So, like I said,
yeah,
I respect her. I'm not like,
you're not in love with the whole idea.
I'm not on that ship yet.
But she did manage to survive in a room with 2 blood rage vampires. So hey, there's that.
Well, if you think about it, like Matthew said, Marcus technically isn't a blood rage vampire because he's never had to fight it. He has the attributes, but
the traits, yeah.
And Matthew learned to control his blood rage a long time ago. The only time he let it loose was when he and Philippe got into that fight, and Philippe was purposefully trying to bring it out of him,
right?
So that Diana would know what she would have to deal with. And then when what's his name, the old creepy flirty dude kept flirting with Diana, and Matthew was getting ready to go tear his ass a new one. So
that's true.
But Matthew, I think, has a pretty good control over it, because you can't have the life that he's had. I mean, he teaches at Oxford. He's around humans all the time. You can't do that and not have control. So I don't think she was ever in danger of that. She might have been more in danger of Matthew like going off and grabbing her. But again, Matthew usually doesn't do that unless it's provoked in such a way that it requires it, kind of like what's her name, Jillian from season 1 when he attacked her.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't think he would have done that, because if you think about it, he's not really mad at Phoebe. It's not that he doesn't like Phoebe. It's a lot of shit going on within that household and within that family. And Marcus just happened to fall in love in the midst of all of that. And he's pissed. But like I said, he can't throw stones because he did the same thing. Granted, they didn't have all that turmoil, but you're supposed to be trying to figure out what's killing all of the creatures. You were supposed to go after Diana just to get the book. And you ended up falling in love with her. And then all this stuff started happening. So really, Matthew can't talk. He need to go on somewhere.
Oh, shout out to the cool and calm way that she revealed her powers to her colleague when they needed the lab.
That was pretty.
That was awesome.
That was really.
I mean, awesome. instead of having Matthew like do any vampire shit, she was like, okay, fine, I got it. Hold on. And
I mean, is that a reference to the run fast with
exactly,
Marcus and
like
Phoebe in the
at
park?
least this time somebody knew how, like, yeah, they broke it to him gently instead of like not saying, like Marcus just not saying anything, like, I'm a vampire, prove it. That. I mean, someone actually did something. Like, okay, see there.
All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
That was pretty awesome.
I guess nobody wanted ice cream either, so it's like, it's like, so
no,
no one
you
could
could say,
down.
I like some Neapolitan,
Right. Yeah, could you go get me some fish and chips from the square real quick?
I like Miriam when they were doing the introductions to Chris and they're just going back and forth. She was like, so how about we talk? What's your lab like? And he's like, and who are you? I'm Dr. Shepard. Can we do the introductions on the way? I was like, Miriam is sick of y'all. Miriam is like, I didn't come here for small talk. Show me the goods. And then when she walked in there, she's like, is this equipment good? He's like, it's state of the art. She's like, okay. I was like, look at you.
He's like, if you say so.
Like, oh my goodness.
If you say so.
Love her character though.
I love her, and my thing is that we don't see enough of her. Like I said, some of the secondary characters we barely get anything of, and it's like certain ones like her you want to see more of because you're like, ooh, that's interesting.
Second that. I would love to see more of Miriam. I mean, hello, can we get just a little bit more?
Right.
A little bit more of Miriam.
I agree. See a little bit more of her, a little bit more of Gallo Glass. I'm good.
A little bit more of Shady Boy.
Domenico. Yeah.
I want to see more of the doctor, the Chris doctor. I want to see more of that one. It's like I said, it's a very interesting show because of the way that it's done. Is that it's doesn't specifically settle on a certain character for the entire episode, so you get to see everything. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Do we have anything else to discuss? I think I feel like there's something we didn't touch on, but I can't think of it right now. And I know when I'm doing post, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's what I meant to say. I did that with like a Hawkeye episode. I was like, oh wait, I meant to say such and such and such and such, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess we'll just do it in another discussion.
We talked about Ben and his, leaving the hotel room in shambles. And
you call that shambles? That's all you call that, shambles? No, the funny thing about that was he walks out the hotel room. He sees the housekeeper. He's like, Alvita Zane. She's like, Alvita Zane. She's looking at him like, yeah, you're hot. And then you have to walk into the hotel room and see that. And he's just smirking like, I was like, yeah, that one's going to be dangerous. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see who he was on the phone with, but I have a feeling it was Father Hubbard. And at least Father Hubbard doesn't look as
grody.
Yeah.
As in need of a shower and a shave.
Again, grody.
As he did in the 1500s.
Yeah. He's cleaned up a little bit. I'm glad to see.
He's cleaned up a lot. He doesn't look like the Rat Fisher King, where he has like a team of rats running behind him, like, come my children. Like,
with the man bun in the back, right? Yeah.
So this season is going to be interesting because you do have the blood rage vampire stuff going on. You have the fight with Peter Knox. Like, we don't know what he's going to do now, but now he really has no allies because, like you said in the trailer for the next episode, Satu is telling him, she was like, I don't need you anymore. You can't intimidate me anymore. She's like, yeah, whatever.
Again, it was the most satisfying scene of the entire 3 seasons is to see him get booted. That was so. It was wrong because it didn't go far enough, but it was so good.
He looked like he was about to cry.
I know, right?
He looked like he was about to cry. He was like, no!
How dare you?
Yes, how dare we? But poor Agatha, I mean,
oh God,
he was the one that called the meeting.
Yeah.
And then that phone call after when she's telling her son,
that's what I was about to talk
oh,
about. That's what I was about to talk about. The fact that she did what she went to do. You know, she was the one who put forth that he be expelled, and they sided with her. She got that accomplished, but she did realize that made her an even bigger target for him and her family, especially, okay, you just got me booted from the congregation, a position that I've served on for hundreds of years. And not only that, or, you know, however many years he's been on there, not hundreds, the witch, but he's been on there a very long time. He had a lot of influence in that position. He also knows that your son's daughter is a witch born to demons. And he's already made that threat that they're going to come get her. He has nothing to lose now. So I have a feeling he's about to let loose, and he's about to be even more despicable than we've seen him in the last 2 seasons.
Hopefully it's not that long. Like, you know, like hopefully he's just in it for a second, then Satsu like breaks his neck or something.
Do I?
That'd be really satisfying.
No.
I reserve.
Diana has to be the one to kill him.
Yeah, well,
she
I agree
has to be.
She has to be.
You don't kill her mama.
I'll give you that.
You kill her daddy,
mm-hmm.
and you kill her auntie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Yeah. I reserve.
Or Sarah. Right. I wouldn't mind if Sarah's the one that actually does something.
That would be a bad. Yeah, well, the only thing is that Sarah is kind of blunt. So the thing is that there might be collateral damage if she goes after him.
She ain't gonna carry that. That's my point. She just get like a blunt object or like a blunt spell and hit him upside the head with it.
That's true. I'm calling it now. I reserve a 20-minute time post season 3 to do a compare and contrast of the season and the book, because already I got issues.
Lori, I'm still waiting on you to do your Dune info dump.
I know, and I will actually get that done this weekend. I'm actually going to send that to you, but I need 20 minutes because I have issues, because if the season comes out the way I think it's going to come out, I'm going to be 80% happy, 20% going, but anyway, that's just me. So yeah, I have nothing more to say. I think I've done everything on this episode, even though it was awesome. I loved it. It pissed me off at the same time. Going, yay, we're back.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thing too. Like, yeah, I was like, yes, it's finally back. And then when I saw some of the things that started to unravel, I'm like, yeah, no, I do have issues with a few things, but overall, I was pleased with the episode. You know,
yeah, it's like I really feel like this is. I mean, I actually fell right back into it. It's like, you know, it's almost like it was like seeing Matthew and Diana again. I was just like, oh, well, it's my friends. Hey, friends. I was like, okay, cool. And then seeing Domenico, it's like, ooh, Domenico's up to shit again. That's my dude right there. And I was like, okay, this actually feels familiar, and like I feel like, and it's something, and I didn't realize how much I missed it because we've been distracted by so much Marvel stuff that we've been doing. It's like I didn't realize how much I actually missed this show.
Yeah, I actually did a rewatch. I started a rewatch last weekend. Watched all of season 1, and I got to maybe episode 6 of the second season. And then I had other stuff to do, so I didn't get to finish it out. But I was like, okay, I'm thoroughly, reacclimated to the show. And I'm really looking forward to the Benjamin stuff, especially if it ties in with Jack, because I want to see what that story is. And like you said, Lori, if they end up going into the story about what happened in Jerusalem, yeah, I really want to see that, because I have a feeling that's going to play a big part in what happens with the congregation and everything. But I will also say this too. I have a feeling Domenico is going to be the one leading the congregation by the end of all this.
Oh, it's just like I said
It's
just like I said last season. Domenico has a master plan, and he's going about it by avoiding trouble and staying in the background, and only putting himself forward when it benefits his end game. And that's what and I agree with you. I think that's his end game is leading the congregation, and it's going to happen soon. It's probably going to happen sooner than most people think.
Yeah,
He's
I don't
just
know. I don't
right
think.
now
100%.
he's just collecting favors.
Mhm.
He's got people that owes him. Agatha owes him, Baldwin owes him, Jabir owes him. He's just collecting favors.
Just
Yeah.
he's sitting in the background, running his fingers through his flat his long black hair, like excellent.
But I also, there's part of me that also feels like, because I don't think leading the congregation is his end game. He just wants Venice back, you know, and he said as much to Jabir. He was like, Venice was mine, and then you took it from me. I think he wants it back, and he may end up leader of the congregation in his pursuit of that. But there's also a small part of me that feels like he is going to come down on the wrong side of somebody. And I don't know if it's going to be Jabir or Peter Knox, but I have a feeling if he meets his end, it's going to come from one of them. Jabir, because Jabir has such open disdain for him. And I think probably Peter Knox, because that's the one we won't see coming.
Jabir doesn't have the balls to kill him.
Yeah,
I think if anyone kills him, it's going to be Matthew, and it's simply because Matthew said, "The next time I see you, you're a dead man." That's and that right there tells me that Matthew is going to be the one to put Shady Boy out of his misery.
That and he said, "You killed someone that was very like a mother to my wife." And you know, he doesn't make empty threats, but he doesn't also make empty statements. Matthew's very measured sometimes, and the fact that I felt the anger behind that, because Emily was, you know, one of her touchstones. So yeah, I agree with that. But
oh no, we weren't talking about Peter Knox being killed. We were talking about Domenico.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like Domenico, you know, I said I feel like if he meets his end, it'll come either at the hands of Jabir, because that will be expected, or it'll come at the hands of Peter Knox, because we won't expect that.
Actually, I agree with everything you just said.
Because Matthew said, "The next time I see you,
this is true. This is true."
And I understand that, but that's also very expected.
Well, okay, that is gonna go under part of my book rant, which I'm not going to get into, because okay, I'm just gonna go broad here for like 30 seconds. My biggest problem with books that I have is that you spend your time reading a trilogy, decalogy, or how many books are in a series, right? And my thing is, I told you guys last week before, is that if you don't stick the landing, you get pissed off because you spent all this time. I've read all 3 books. She did not stick the landing. And I have a serious argument, because in my mind, book 3, I'm talking general here, gave us an info dump that we could have used book 1, book 2, season 1.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Okay. So my problem is that book 3 is wonderfully dense, and you get a lot of stuff, but you also get a lot of, and we're walking. You also get a lot of, and we're talking, and 60% of book 3 has nothing to do with book 3.
Okay.
So I'm upset because I know what happens, but I'm also upset because she buried the lead. She didn't finish it. She dropped the landing. And I'll talk about that at the end of the season.
Okay. Well, maybe they'll fix that with the show, because they tend
I'm
to
hoping
do that.
they are. Yeah.
You know, especially if she's a consultant on the show.
Yeah, well,
so
she needs some help.
She may be able to go in and say, hey, you know what? Let's change this up a little bit. This is how I wrote it, but maybe we need to make some changes. That happens. That Shadow and Bone, Lee Bardugo did that.
Right.
Stephen King did it with this new version of The Stand. He came in and wrote a coda, which didn't necessarily was needed.
Well, he also did that with Haven too. He did that with Haven, because remember, Haven is a part of a short story that Stephen King wrote. So yeah, but the thing is, writers, if they're going to consult, make sure you wrap it up satisfactorily to people who watch it, because I feel like I wasted my time.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see, how well that that translates onto the screen. We have 7 episodes left, and if they went as fast in this episode, like you said, Laura, you said they covered probably about a third of the book.
Yep.
In this first episode, so that tells me that we should get a lot of information for this season. They've probably got a lot to put in there to make to stick the landing at the end of this episode, at the end of the series. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to go along for the ride and see how that works out. But for now, for the first episode discussion, that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can also find us on YouTube and all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.